teleprompter, create videos you're proud of. Easily trim your video by selecting the words where you want to start and end. Color your presentation with automatic subtitles and highlighting keywords. Add your brand logo. Add music for an emotional touch. Add your contact info on an animated business card on all your videos. Easily replace green screen with an image or a video loop. Stand out with a web page with your logo, your video at the center, and personalized button for visitors to interact. It's one tap to simultaneously upload your videos on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Always know what to say next with the Big View teleprompter.
Hi, welcome to all of you. Welcome to today's workshop, How to Grow Your Revenue by Creating a Content Flywheel. Really great to have you all with us. And on today's formula, as always, we encourage you to post your comments into the chat. You can put a Q before the comment if you want to post any questions for our speakers today. And we'll pick them up during the course of the workshop, and we'll pass them on to our speakers. Today, we have a really special event for you today. We have two real experienced speakers today. We have Jim Fuchs, who's the president of Fusion Marketing. Jim is a seasoned digital marketing consultant with over 30 years experience and a former US Marine. And we have Jim's partner in crime, who is Chris Stone. Chris has over 25 years of history in the music industry with Sony. He's a passionate entrepreneur, and he's a podcast expert and streaming expert. So we're going to learn a lot today together. And I'm really great to have you with us today. So let us know where you're joining us from. We'd be happy to see in the comments where you guys are joining from. We'd like to see you all just post in the comments. Let us know if you have any questions or anything, if you're Big View users or not, and let's see if we can bring you some quality content today. Without further ado, I'd like to bring our two speakers today on board, Jim and Chris, so they can tell us a little bit about themselves. Welcome.
Great to be here.
Thanks, Kevin. We appreciate that. Boy, you used expert twice there. I don't know how to act now.
We're like looking at who's he talking about? Who's he talking about?
Oh, that's us. Oh God. Yeah, it's nice to be on the show with you. We're big fans and have watched a number of workshops prior. And so those that are watching, as Kevin said, ask questions, because there's nothing that Jim and I love to do more than to solve people's problems live. In fact, we do it every time we can in the biggest mall in the world. Well, maybe not the biggest mall in the world, but one of the biggest malls, especially online, which is Amazon, on our show. So we look forward to the workshop. We hopefully can solve people's problems live.
Excellent. That sounds great. Jim, what about you?
Yeah, so Jim Fuse. I'm the president of Fusion Marketing. I like to do marketing the Marine Corps way. Why, you might ask, is because I did over 20 years as a United States Marine, retired as a lieutenant colonel. And so I bring that, adapt and overcome mentality into the business world, because I think that's where people get in their own way a lot of times, because they're like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Well, you got to make those changes. You got to make those shifts. And we've seen that over the last 3-4 years, and things like video have become more and more important, but people are still like, oh, well, I don't know how to get started. Well, part of it is just get started. And so I was fortunate to meet Chris Stone back in, I guess, what was it, Chris, like 2019, maybe early 2020, before everything went crazy. And we connected, and we were able to come up with this concept, thanks to Amazon, called Dealcasters. And we'll talk a little bit more about how that relates to what we're talking about today. But I hand it over to my good friend Chris. Let us know about him.
Yeah, I'm Chris Stone. I have a company called Cast Ahead, and what we do is we work with motivated entrepreneurs to make a show. Because most time, Kevin, you deal with entrepreneurs in your business a lot. Most of the time, they want to know how all the stuff works. They don't want to figure out how, all the file names and all the places they need to be. They just want to show, and that's what I do for them. And of course, I enjoy also being the co-host of this thing called Dealcasters, and we'd love to talk about that, but also the topic today, which is really how we utilize that show and how we just turn it into what we call a content flywheel, and be able to take all what we call all parts of the pig and utilize it in all of the places so that we can get found.
Right. So how did you guys get into it? How did you get into the concept of using a content flywheel? And before we go to that, I just want to remind our audience today that we have a special giveaway. We have 3 30-minute sessions with Jim and Chris. For those of you that want to merit to be one of the lucky winners of the sessions, please send a mail to dealcasters@dealcasters.live. We'll put that into the chat regularly throughout the workshop, and then send a mail to Chris and Jim with the mail title Big View, so they know where it's coming from, and they will choose out 3 winners from those of you that sent through emails for a fantastic personalized training session with them. Okay, so without further ado, so how, let's just understand how you got, because I know today, people talk about creating funnels for your social media sites and getting funnel to get your lead generation done. How is it that you came to use the concept of content flywheel and didn't go the regular route that people go today?
Yeah, that's right. And I can answer that really quickly, and I'll roll it over to Jim to fill in the cracks, because there's always some when I get to the end of it. That's why we're better together than we are alone. But we actually started this show on Amazon. Jim and I have collective businesses as remote producers, and we do this for other people. And we love to do it, and that's why we're doing it. But we knew that we needed to have a show together, so we came up with that concept and launched on Amazon. Before anybody knew what Dealcasters was, you'd Google Dealcasters, and by and large, what you would get would be a bunch of like, oh, those caster wheels that you put on the bottom of amplifiers to roll them around or whatever. Like, hey, there's a deal on these, right? And so that's when we first started. I was like, Jim, this is a problem. Because when you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, or you're a brand, it's one thing if somebody were to Google you and they find out you're like, I don't know, an axe murderer or something like that. That's terrible, right? But what's worse is they don't find you. Like, so we had to get found. And so we knew that, we had to be in all the places, but we needed a place, because we were on the quote unquote rented land of Amazon, that we needed a spot for people to land. And, but we wanted to drive them to Amazon as well. So our show was called Dealcasters Live, because we put that on Amazon. And Jim and I were in a conversation. We're like, can we just buy the domain dealcasters.live? Sure enough, we could. And it was $2.99. So it broke our bank at the time. Yeah, we went broke. We went $3 in the red, and we bought dealcasters.live. And that supercharged our SEO. It basically, every time we did something, so in this case, we'll create a subdomain called bigview.dealcasters.live, which is easy to do with any domain that you buy, and we'll redirect to this show. So at any point in time, if we ever want to promote this particular show, there's a spot on the internet where we can drive to it. And all of our content drives to where we want it to go. It's always a great user experience when somebody sees an interview with us and Kevin, and they go, "Oh, that's a great interview. I want to find out what books he's got behind him or whatever." And if you click on it and it sends them to some funnel, or it sends them to something that they didn't want, you've disqualified yourself as a trusted piece of content on the internet. And so we got this domain, and now we just the list, Kevin, of subdomains that we have under Dealcasters Live is insane. We do it for products. We do it for our guests. We do it for things like this, just because it's a way for us to create this, flywheel, so to speak, of content that will drive to where we want it to drive.
Yeah, and I think, I was going to say, and I think what was unique is that when we started this show, it was just on Amazon. We didn't have Dealcaster socials. We didn't have anything. We were literally, I had my Twitter account for Fusion Marketing is how we got approved. And so we started to create the socials a piece at a time. And so then we started saying, well, now we got to start putting content out there, or people aren't going to go to those things. So what happened was we started taking a look at like, oh, we can put, we started doing product videos for Amazon. And so we started figuring out, hey, we can now start putting this out there. And here's the other thing. If you're an Amazon influencer or somebody, desiring to become an Amazon influencer, they want you to drive people from what they call off-site, off of Amazon, to Amazon. So that kind of became our idea. Like, how do we get people that are not on Amazon to Amazon? And that was by creating this content flywheel. And we started to go even in places you may not think of, but for very strategic reasons. We, as an example, have a LinkedIn company page for Dealcasters. In fact, right now, and it doesn't mean, jump off of YouTube and go there, but we're actually live streaming this on LinkedIn, right? How do we do that? We had to get followers, right? To get 150 followers on LinkedIn, you can go live on LinkedIn as a business. So that's something for people to consider, because part of who we're looking to work with as a brand is these, big companies like Shure and things of that. So they're out there on LinkedIn. They're not necessarily on Facebook. And the Facebook algorithm isn't necessarily friendly to people putting links in there. So that was kind of our idea, like, hey, let's start putting our content out on these other places. And that's what has started to drive traffic not only to Amazon, but people to wanting to work with us.
So am I correct in saying that you're adapting your strategy to your content, and by getting leverage from the different landing pages, if you could call them, or different sites that you're directing them to, and maintaining control of that, you can actually get leverage for your Amazon program at the same time?
Yeah, I look at it like this. When we go live on Amazon, we will interview someone and have a podcast, but we're in the middle of the mall, so to speak. And so inevitably, what we do and why we call it live solving versus live selling is, lots of times products are presented as solutions to issues that someone has. Like, oh, wow, this virtual background looks really cool. Like, what are you doing? What are the lights that you use? And so we're actually like training people and, doing what we do in terms of consulting and how to talk into a microphone. And, you inevitably get the questions like, what microphone should I buy? What this, and you can answer those, but you also want to talk about what room they're in and, like, help people solve their problems. And sometimes you're not in a situation where it leads to a sale, so to speak, but eventually it does. And so, what we've done is we said, okay, well, there's all this content and there's lots of people that are watching right now, and they go live and they just leave it. They just leave it up there, or they record a YouTube video and they just put it somewhere. And they don't use those elements of that show to be able to say, hey, there was something that was said here, and there was something that said here. They may not have the time to do it, but we use, and we're happy to talk about the software and all of the stuff that we do to say, hey, there's a way to transcribe your show. There's a way to take elements from that show and then just use all of those elements to drive to the same thing. And it's rented land that you're driving to, because at this point, Amazon could say, you know what, we're not doing this anymore. That's okay, because we can drive them somewhere else, right? Because we have a redirect that we've built for all of that content. So if the rented land goes away, we're still in control of where it goes, because we have redirects that we've used in all the content throughout the years that, the 2 years or just over 2 years that we've been doing this thing. We have control over where it lands. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And in fact, it resonates a lot with our philosophy on the content side as well. When we do the workshops, when we started out, we're just finding our feet, perhaps a little bit in the same sense that you guys were at Dealcasters. But today we try and take the workshop, and from the workshop, obviously we use the workshop as an integral part itself. But in addition to that, we try and roll a blog out of the workshop, roll a podcast out of the workshop. So we're using the content, we're repurposing. And even product-wise, our trim features really there to enable users to cut down their videos into smaller chunks and take out bits that they can use for repurposing, posting on different platforms, getting more distance, because I mean, I think from our experience, you know, the life cycle is also very important. And I think maybe you guys want to get a little bit into the life cycle of the flywheel, and, you know, what the objectives are, what you aim to do, and how you actually do that.
Yeah, so I mean, part of it too is I want to say I heard the other day that it's you got to catch someone's attention in 7 seconds with a video, or they're off somewhere else. And so I think part of what, we've figured out, and Chris can go in a lot more detail on this, is in creating this content flywheel is like he kind of knows, like, okay, like we just had Las on our show, an amazing creator, and he said some just epic stuff, or and so he takes that piece and it starts out right. That's what you're hearing. It's not like, hey, welcome to our show. Here's because people like, I don't got time for that. Get to the meat, get to the meat. And we've even learned with the stuff we're doing with product videos, like we don't sit there and it's like, hey, this is Jim, and today I'm going to talk about this camera. I just say, we're talking about the Sony ZV-E10, and we get right into it, right? We just don't, you know, people are, in fact, someone said this the other day, and I thought it was really, I mean, and maybe it's a little bit obvious, but you don't think about it. It's like they came to your channel or your video because they wanted to learn something. They don't need an introduction, right? You leave
Yeah.
the introduction for your, maybe your first video, like on YouTube, you can have that. This is what the channel's about. But if they're watching your other stuff, you don't need to keep reintroducing yourself. Get to the point,
Okay.
get people engaging.
Yeah, the life cycle, more specific to your question, Kevin, is I look at it as forever. And I know that's like, oh, come on, really? Like maybe 9 years from now, things don't look like this, whatever. But I look at it in terms, if you think about like today's show, you guys have a great process and planning, and we had a meeting beforehand. We have all of this stuff, right? But we treat this with importance. We show up and we deliver this content, and we do everything that we can to make this the best possible, most valuable thing that we can in this moment, no matter what happened, the day of or whatever, because we believe that eventually, even after I'm not here on this earth, I might have said something in a piece of content that somebody watches and it impacts them. Like, I'm now going to write my book, or I got this tip from this person, and I got this and I got this. And so I think if you think about it like that, then you don't think about a piece of content that was done yesterday and just leave it up on the vine. Like, we're constantly taking all of this content and spicing it up and splicing it up and transcribing it and pulling down this stuff, and it's making an impact on people years. I mean, we've got content, Kevin, that we get comments from people, and it's from 2 years ago on a book that somebody else wrote. And it's like, okay, that was cool. These people are commenting on these things years from now. And somebody will say, when did you have time to do that? I was like, I did that 2 years ago. Like, it's not. And so I think a lot of times content entrepreneurs, when they're putting together their stuff, they're just putting it together for this, and then they're moving on to the next thing. And they're putting it together for this, and they're moving it on to the next thing. And I think your content is more valuable than you think about it if you find a way to create a process with pieces of software, especially what's going on with AI and everything. But you have some sort of transcription software that you can pull in, and that helps you to identify those things that are going to be impactful to the audience that's already resonating with what you're doing. And then you schedule it out, and then sit back and respond to people and be social while they're being impacted by it.
So absolutely. So it's really the relevance of the content. You try and look into the content itself and extract those elements that are relevant or going to be relevant, or may just be a kind of a light bulb moment for possible viewers.
Yes. Absolutely. That's I mean, I get deep on this whole legacy thing, but I feel like, when you get comments back from people and you've helped them, you're like, hey, real talk, I started my podcast because I watched Dealcasters and I bought 2 pairs of headphones and returned the other one because they said, hey, Amazon's got a good return policy. And you might find that these are more comfortable on your ears. They're about the same price, whatever, buy both of them and then return one that you don't want. And they're like, God, I'm so glad you said that. And now I'm using that information. And then you build trust with that audience. And, you're just being yourself. You're just, telling people, how it is, and they're learning. And hopefully someday they can, we'll get even more information for people who have, started something in their career as a content entrepreneur.
So when you guys are preparing for your show or preparing to create content, are you taking a perspective that we have to find out, kind of what is the know-how, what is the value around the content that can be of use to the audience that we're going to present, the content or the product for that matter? Would that be like one of the elements that you're looking at when you're looking at the creation process?
Definitely. So as an example, if we know we're going to go live and say it's just going to be me and Chris, and we're doing a show about like helping people talk about live streaming tools, or if we're talking about podcasting, we will sometimes intentionally, we may have a product that we haven't talked about before. And so when we're doing the live stream, the 30-minute to half-hour show, we know that, okay, when I'm talking about, as an example, this Shure MV7X microphone, we're going to talk specifically about the features and benefits, and then make that intentional pause so that then Chris can go in later and he can cut that out, and we can actually turn that into a clip. And so as an example, with a product like BigView, we can then take that, put that piece of the video in, we can turn it into vertical if we want to, and then we can caption it. Because I did see that one of the questions like, well, how does this relate to BigView? So BigView is one of those tools that you can use in order to create those clips. Now, the revenue generating piece that people are probably wondering about is, well, we have affiliate links, right? We put the affiliate link into that clip off of Amazon, and we also, disclose that we're an affiliate because, that's an FTC thing, and that will get people to click and go to Amazon and make that purchase. Now, you can do that with other affiliate type links. So it's not just something that you have to be on Amazon to do this. And we want to educate people. A lot of our videos are educational, right? We don't sit there and say, buy this now, right? We'll even do comparison videos that are not related to our live shows. Like we'll say, here's what your iPhone, I did a video, here's what your iPhone sounds like microphone. Here's what it sounds like when you use a Rode Wireless Go 2. So you can hear the difference, right? It's a short video, it's impactful, it helps people make decisions. So that's, I think, part of our strategy is, yes, we're very intentional when it comes to that. And even as an example, if Chris and I are both doing videos about the same product, we'll say, all right, Chris, what piece are you going to do? What piece am I going to do? So we're not creating the same exact thing.
Yeah, and one of the great ways to, a lot of times people, Kevin, this will have, they'll get stuck on what they should do content on, right? And some of it has to do with that imposter syndrome, and they look and they go, well, so-and-so already did this product video, or so-and-so already did a video based on eye contact with the Plexicam, or somebody already did, and so they think that they have to do something that's completely different. They've got their own voice, but one little trick that we've utilized for creating product videos as an example is, and anyone could do this, if it's a product video that you're doing, like any microphone that you've got, or any pair of headphones that you've got, or not even a tech related item, maybe something that gets rid of fruit flies in your kitchen, you go to that item on Amazon, scroll all the way down, and you have all these questions that people want to know before they buy a piece of product, before they want to buy. And then all these questions get upvoted. So you're automatically seeing the top questions that people want before they make a purchase decision. And so that is, if there isn't a reason why, and everybody thinks, well, you have to do an unboxing video, and then you have to do some sort of demo video. That's not necessarily the case, because some of these boxes are just like boxes. Like, who cares? It's in a piece of plastic when you pull it out. Like, who cares? Find out what they do care about. Find out what your audience wants. Find out what solution you can provide to them. And in this case, they want to know how long the warranty is. Was it built in the United States? Or is this a good microphone for podcasting? And if it's upvoted 48 times, create a video on that.
Okay, excellent. I'd actually like just to I'm going to give you guys a bit of scope. I'm just going to check out the chat at the moment.
Sure.
I'll let you guys go ahead so
Love
we
it.
can see what we've got, some questions coming in that we can maybe bring through to you.
Yeah, I did see that. So some people have this question, well, what is the content flywheel? And I think the best way I would describe it, Chris, you know, if I miss anything, just like he said, I would, he'll fill in. So say as an example, for us, the flywheel starts with the live show or the video, but we'll go with the live show first. When that show is done, we turn that live show into a podcast. So that becomes one of the spokes off of that original content.
To clarify, let me fill in a crack there for you, Jim, and I'll roll it back. When we say podcast in this case, that means audio only, going on the audio players like Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Google Podcasts. There is a video podcast, right? But one of the components of the flywheel is an audio podcast. Sorry, Jim. Go ahead.
No, that's good. That's a great point. Then we sit there and by, you know, whether it's using technology or just, you know, remembering different parts of the thing. And so usually it ends up being technology. It could be Big View, it could be Descript. We will then have these pieces that are, you know, short enough to be on things like Instagram Reels or TikTok or these other spots, or we'll even post them to LinkedIn, that we will then, those are kind of the other spokes. It goes to each of those social platforms. So, but the idea being that each one of those pieces of content drives people back to that original, right? We're going back to, you know, that original interview, you know, the interview that we did an interview with Mario from Shure, right? We were talking about Shure microphones, all these different microphones I have. So that became a podcast, right? But then we also did these clips, and one clip might have been about a certain microphone. And so if you clicked it, it would either take you to the microphone, or we'd say, if you want to see the whole interview, boom, here's your choices. So we give people those choices. The other piece of that is Chris, like you said, creates these redirects, right? We want to make it easy for people. You know, we've actually got two ways to redirect people. It's like, if you want to see our storefront on Amazon, you go to dealcasters.shop. If you want to go see our last live show, it's dealcasters.live, but we get specific. So we've always got a way to bring people back to, for us, Amazon is where we want to bring people back to, because that's where they make the purchases. That's where we generate the revenue. And so I know people are like, you know, that to me is our example is taking each show and repurposing it on these other platform channels to get them back to where Amazon wants them to go, which is back to Amazon.com.
And I'll just dovetail a little bit on that, Kevin, because I mentioned earlier when we created the dealcasters.live, or when we bought the domain, I should say, and then we started creating all of the content around that. When we first started, you couldn't find us on the internet. Now you're going through 10 pages of stuff, of our stuff, before you even see some sale for the caster wheels that go under the amplifiers or whatever, because we've created all of this content, and that's what the flywheel does. We're not here to try and make money. I want to make that clear. We're not here to try and make money. We do, but that was never our original intention. Our original intention was to create a show on Amazon to be able to demonstrate what we do as remote producers. So as one stream of revenue, we get commission from Amazon based on products that people will buy while they're watching our show, or when they click a product video. All those things are our commission, which is an affiliate revenue and all of those things. And as an entrepreneur, a content entrepreneur, you want to have multiple streams of revenue, because this is rented land. At any point in time, Amazon could go, Dealcasters, we don't want you anymore, or whatever. But I know that when you Google us, you will find us. You will never not find us, because we have things everywhere, and that's really what the content flywheel, I should say, has done for us. So
you know, the passion, we definitely can see the passion. The passion comes through when you guys present. That's definitely there. You know, we can see that without a doubt. And as well, you know, not just having the different, you know, aspects of your flywheel with different content. Each aspect of the content is geared towards a specific point or audience of that. and you're creating, just that regenerative system, and the brand is there all the time. So you're bringing them back to you, you're sending them to Amazon if they do want to engage in the purchase of product. But at the same time, you're building a brand, as you say. So that if you're not doing it for Amazon today and you're doing it for whatever, a different company tomorrow, then you've still got the basis. You've built something which has intrinsic value. So I want to just bounce off a question from Michael Pratt, because Michael was asking, how's this relevant for Big View? So I want to just reformulate that a little bit. I think let's rather look at a more generic type of case and say, how is this relevant for people that are selling services as opposed to selling products?
Jim, do you want that?
Yeah. So as an example, what some people are doing on Amazon is they're creating shows. I work with a lady, Denise Lipka, that she's an artist. So she's teaching people how to paint on Amazon. And so she's not sitting there and, selling anything. She's teaching classes. There's people teaching other types of classes. And so what they're doing is they're showing the products that are related to that in the what they call the carousel. So maybe you're a thought leader and you want to interview authors, right? And part of that is people realize, oh, I can work with this person. So they might have books in there. So they're book authors. I think it's more about thinking like, how can I creatively talk about what I do, as opposed to like, oh, I'm a coach and I'm looking to get more coaching clients on Amazon. Because the reality is, are people going to come to Amazon looking for coaching clients? Probably not. But maybe you're, I don't know, a landscaper. I mean, part of this really comes down to you're educating people, right? You're educating people about ways to do things. And oh, by the way, you just happen to be using a product that's on Amazon. I mean, there's people that do fitness classes. I mean, there's just such a wide variety, So I mean, I think services can be tough, and I think sometimes, right, that's the thing. Chris and I don't treat Amazon like QVC, right? We have a conversation. We talk about how to use things, not you need to buy this thing. And I think that's kind of the difference between maybe us and some of the other creators. Chris, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I was just say it's about building trust, Kevin. So when people are looking for remote producers and somehow they come across Jim Fuse or Chris Stone and they're like, okay, now I've seen these guys, right? Oh, I know these guys know their stuff. And these are shows like our show becomes it's really a sandbox for us to play in. Like this is what we can do for you, and we can dial it down and do a show that's definitely for your brand. But like, we're going to, here's all of the bells and whistles. And if you want half the bells and whistles, we could do that show for you. But it's really about building that trust for you. And, to Jim's point, you don't necessarily have to go live on video and do exactly what you do. You can you create trust by creating a show for something. There's plenty of people that are, they make money on keynote speaking, but they create a podcast where they interview interesting people. And eventually it's like, oh, geez, I subscribe to this person's podcast. Yeah. They're a public speaker.
I mean, I had a great example of that. I mean, I like my music, and I know Sammy Hagar, who used to be the front man for Van Halen.
The Red Rocker.
Doing a show. He started doing a show where he was interviewing all these people. He knew these people for the industry, so he said to himself, let me go and interview them. He went and interviewed them, and to all these amazing, and so I think really that's an amazing piece of advice that you've given there.
Yeah,
and credibility. Just trust, credibility. It just resonates absolutely.
And you get found more, and you might listen to more Sammy Hagar music now and drink more of his tequila. I guess I don't know, but yeah, the Red Rocker. That's a great example.
True, absolutely. Great. So let's see if we can pick any any questions from the audience that we've entered in. Okay, let me just see.
Well, I saw a question about, is this
flywheel
for Amazon only? And I would say no. here's what Chris and I have learned over, it's really almost hard to believe, Chris, next month is 3 years since we started this journey, but live selling, which we like to call live solving, is growing beyond Amazon. There's companies like eStreamly and there's another one that has a Shopify app where people are live streaming on their websites, right? So take that live stream that you do on your website that you own and repurpose that content to get people to come back to your website. It's just happens to be that our fundamental first stop is Amazon, but you could really apply that to anywhere that you're creating video, right? Because this is about video creation first, right? Chris and I do video first. We're not sitting there trying to write a bunch of blog posts. That's not to say, and Kevin, you talked about this, how you guys take a video and then turn it into a blog post, right? That's what technology is allowing us to do. So I think, if you've got something to sell or a service to offer, where is your, if you want to call it, your social proof? Where are you putting something? Because Chris and I sometimes will have people say, oh, well, we'd like to be on your podcast. One of the first things we do is we go look and see, well, let's see if we can find somewhere where they've spoke before on video. What does their setup look like? And that can be a way for us to basically, say they're not qualified for where we are right now with our business, for us to do that. So that's where I think people need to think. And so where does Big View help? Right? You've got that teleprompter part of the app where you can sit there and look into the camera and make good video that comes across and a good message, and you've got good eye contact with the camera. Then you can also repurpose that, right? Take that 30 seconds out of that 5 minutes you talked and turn that into a YouTube short and bring people back to want to learn more about you. So I think this idea that, oh, this only applies to Amazon couldn't be further from the truth. This applies to all businesses. I've been encouraging businesses in my community. It's like, hey, you need to start a YouTube channel. You need to put video out there because people are searching for solutions to their problems, because Chris and I are problem solvers. We want to help businesses solve their problems.
Yeah, and Kevin, I know there's a lot of questions here about the, it's, I guess, more semantics than anything, the term content flywheel and how to create that. I think getting past the word flywheel, we just kind of use that. I mean, that's a nice headline, right? But it's generally just taking a piece of content, usually longer form content, right? Like today's workshop, for example. And taking that and doing what we call like using all parts of the pig. We just take that piece of content and we put it into a transcription service. There's a bunch of them out there. I don't know if we're restricted to name or not name what we use or what we love, but we're happy to.
No, you can go ahead.
Okay, so we use Descript, and that's something that we feel like serves us, but there are plenty of great transcription services that vary in price that may be best for you. So certainly test those out. But that's where it starts, is we pull it in there. And when you can look at a written piece of content, so if you're looking at a transcription from a video, you can very quickly, some people, are, okay, I can't go back to a video, an hour-long video, and watch and think about, does this piece work? Does this piece work? When you're looking at a transcription, you basically want to say, hey, here's a nugget. This I can use. And then you just pull it. And you just go through it. I'm pretty sure, like an hour-long piece of content takes me about 10 minutes to go through. I do it for myself. I do it for my clients. And then all of a sudden, you've got 12, 15 pieces or nuggets that you can use from a video perspective. And you can use them on 9, 10 different types of platforms in varying ways to use it. And there's other, you can use repurpose, you can use Big View, there's just all kinds of different things. Lately is another AI-related scheduler that we use. And so when you do that, that's just 1 hour of an interview. And if you are consistent as a content entrepreneur, as a podcaster, as a live streamer, and you're doing maybe 1 show every other week, imagine how much you have. I think about this story, and I know Victor Antonio just wrote a book called Mastering the Upsell, and it's that old story about the man who found diamonds in the backyard, didn't know that they were there, and all of a sudden it was like We went all to the ends of the earth to look for all of these diamonds, and they were just in the backyard. That's what your content is. This is stuff that if you take and pull it apart, you can find nuggets in there that are you've already done, and don't just put it out there and let it sit.
Yeah.
And even years ago, I mean, we've got posts, Kevin, that go up that we've done 2.5 years ago because I did what I just talked about, chopped it up and scheduled it. And it's making impact on people. And that's how you create the flywheel.
Yeah, and that's something that as well, that part of our product team, perhaps one of our marketing people will be joining us later, but part of our product team's philosophy is really to look where's the problem, what are the problems we're trying to solve, that we can help people save time, and really our whole platform is really oriented. If you look at Big View's features, teleprompter, word trim to trim videos, automatic captions, automatically posting to social media sites. It's really to enable people to save time on that and to get the content, to repurpose the content. So really, I do really get that. We've also had some questions on, where does somebody who's starting out, where do they start out? Where's the starting point? How, not everybody has the experience that you guys have had previously, and they may want to, get involved in creating some kind of a platform, in building their own content flywheel. What would you guys recommend?
Well, I think part of the challenge, right, is kind of like, where is your audience, right? And you get all this advice of, oh, you should be on Facebook. Oh, you should be on Instagram. Oh, you should be on TikTok. But you really got to understand your audience. I saw someone earlier talk about, well, I have an older demographic, right? And they're maybe not on some of the, the newest, latest, and greatest. That's where a newsletter could come in handy, right? Create that email marketing. That is definitely something that we are looking at doing more of, that, or even creating a LinkedIn newsletter, which you can do off of your LinkedIn company page once you reach 150 followers, and then LinkedIn emails that out to all your subscribers. So I think I don't think there's a right answer, like you should start here. I think it's more about making those decisions, testing it, right? Chris and I are big about testing things, and it's like, and it's okay if you're not getting that action on Facebook or Instagram. Well, maybe that's not where they're at, and that's okay. And with YouTube, right? YouTube is going to take time, right? YouTube rewards consistency. And even if you upload a bunch of videos, it doesn't mean you're going to get a bunch of subscribers on the channel. And I hate to say this, but I'm going to say this whole idea that everybody can be a content creator is not true. Everybody can attempt to be a content creator, but it takes work. It takes continuous learning.
Absolutely.
And continuing to improve yourself. Because you'll see people like, well, I've uploaded all these videos and nobody's watching them. Are they good videos? Have you had someone objectively look at your content and say, is it worth their time? And I think that's part of the thing that nobody likes to talk about at times is, Chris and I will even say, if you go look at our first videos back in when we started, we cringe, right? But we are constantly working at improving ourselves, and we encourage others to do the same.
I love that. And I would also say, Jim talked about consistency, which is just, it's so hard to hear sometimes. And but patience is a huge deal. It's not going to happen overnight, folks. It's not going to, you're not going to wake up like this. You're just not. And, we didn't, and we're happy to play you our first video if you want to watch it. We leave it up. It's everywhere you want to watch. And every once in a while, Kevin will go back and watch it and listen to it and cringe and go, okay, we've, now we got to get better from where we're at now. Right? It's not, we're not going to pull it down, because that's part of, I know it's a cliche, but it's part of the journey. And I believe that, if I'm going to give anybody else a tip on this, is everything you do needs to be on video. Everything you do. I don't care if you're just recording your audio podcast, put on your, turn on your camera, your iPhone, like whatever it is. Make sure it's on video, because you're going to be able to use that. People are going to want to see you as well as hear you. And when you use software like Big View and you're able to make eye contact, a big part of what Jim and I do when we make our product videos, and why when people are watching this right now, they can see me look in the eyes with you, is because, eye contact is huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
If the whole time I was doing this and I'm looking off to the side, they're going to be like, why is this guy looking over there? I'm here. So it's important that you develop those reps and you continue to put in that work, and all of a sudden you will get better, because your second show is going to be better than your first show.
Sure.
Your third is going to be better than your second, and you're just going to be building blocks to eventually you're going to be there. And I hope that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say that really rings true with myself. I remember when we started out and started making videos myself, and making videos in front of the camera, you can see the results. That can be a very, very awakening, if not frightening, experience. Seeing yourself, hearing how you come out on the audio, and it's really is it. Secondly, it's a learning experience. Like you say, get out there, do it, repeat the process. The more you repeat the process,
Yes.
the better you're going to get. And it's just a matter of I'm sure you guys invest a lot of time and efforts in spite of the skills that you have already into that.
Well, yeah. And Jim talked about it earlier. Surround yourself with people that are they're gonna help you and tell you the truth. Like, sometimes that's not your family, and sometimes that's not your friends, right? Like, listen, I really want to work on this video. I want you to tell me not what I want to hear. Because what I would like to do is I'd like to get better. So tell me, what is it? Is it eye contact? Am I saying too much? Am I saying too much? Jim and I, we sharpen the saw constantly. Jim will go, hey, Chris, I watched that interview you did. It was great, but I did notice this. And I'll do the same with him. And it's because we want to get better at this. And we work collectively, but we work on each other's individual businesses, because we know that we're inspired to do better individually. So surround yourself with people that will help you do that.
Yeah, I think Chris, you've got a tough sparring partner, of a lieutenant colonel from the Marines.
Well, Chris is pretty tough himself. He doesn't pull any punches.
Jim's a big teddy bear, Kevin.
Okay, good. I'd like to bring in our head of marketing to join us now.
Ooh.
To bring a little bit about a little bit of a perspective. So I'd like you all to welcome Donna Horwitz from our marketing team.
Awesome.
Hey, Donna.
Great. Welcome aboard, Donna.
Hey, Jim. Hey, Chris. Hey, Kevin. Hello to Bridget and Regina and everyone else who's in the audience with us today. It's just some great content. I loved hearing about it. And specifically, I think people were asking, how does this tie into Big View? And in my role, part of what I do as a marketing manager is be in touch with our affiliates, right? A lot of Big View's audience are people who are thought leaders, not necessarily content creators, by the way, people who are thought leaders in the real estate space, people who are thought leaders in the coaching space, people who are, just people who are thought leaders in whatever industry they're in. And they're constantly thinking, okay, how do I turn this into revenue, right? Like, how do I monetize on what I'm doing? And how do I help my audience? So what you guys were talking about is creating this content flywheel and creating the type of content that will allow them to share tools that they love, right? And specifically, we're talking about Big View. Does that make sense to you guys?
Oh, yeah. I think, and I have a friend I recently talked to that's a realtor. I think one of the things, and this is where Big View can be very helpful, is create that video, right? If on LinkedIn, 10 minutes or less, right? Don't need to go live. I think that right there sometimes scares people. Oh, I don't want to go live. So record it, right? You can hit delete and do it over and do it over and do it over. But once you get that message where you want it, and that's where I think using Big View and having the captions, right? Put it out there on LinkedIn, telling people, here's what's going on in our local real estate market or whatever. Or here's what I think is important, when you're getting into the coaching industry. Create a series of videos and release them and engage with other people. I think the other thing, and that's where Big View can be very helpful. But I think the other thing that people get too caught up in, it's not always about just creating content. It's engaging with other people's content. And if you do more of that, I think you'll see more success as well.
Yeah, and I would just add to what Jim said there, Donna, and that is, it's powerful that the affiliate program is for users, right? So it's Jim and I get approached by brands all of the time, and they want to send us free stuff and give us free this, that, or the other. We say no more than we say yes, because we want to be able to have people trust us when they say, hey, what do you suggest is the best this for this? And so we can say, for us, we use this because it helps us do this, or we use a few things or whatever. So I think it's really important for someone who is a BigView user, or is someone who is an affiliate, is a part of this affiliate, to be able to say, hey, listen, I use this. Here's how I use it. Here's how this might be able to help you. You're not saying, here, click on this and you're going to go into my funnel, and now you're going to be, you're going to get all my content. You're just saying, hey, I hope this helps you. Here's a piece of software that I use that helps me do this, that, or the other. If you look at it from that standpoint, it's not like, hey, I'm doing this so that I can make money. If you say, I'm doing this so I can help people, the money will come.
Yeah, exactly. And the truth is, when we look at our affiliate program, and like, we have a fantastic affiliate program, people are earning commission, as long as the people that they're referring are paying customers, they'll still be getting referral commission. So it's a fantastic program. But what is important for us is when people sign up as affiliates, for them to really believe in our product, right? Like, we believe in them telling, and we see that the most successful affiliates are people who actually stand behind BigView. They use BigView, they love BigView, and they're able to, and because they have that trust and because they have that brand authority, this is just another piece of that brand authority, basically. People, they being able to say, this is what I use, and here's how you can use it and become better at what you're doing, create better content just like I am, because I do use it. So like you said, it's really creating that trust and not just putting yourself out there, sell this, buy this,
Right.
you need this, but this is what I use, and here is how this can give you added value. And I really do encourage, I know that we have some, diehard BigView users with us today. I encourage you right now, just go into our website, log into your desk, click on your profile picture, become an affiliate. We have a great, I'm in touch with all the affiliates. We really believe in a long-term partnership with them. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the reason why we found out about BigView is through Terry Brock and Gina Carr, Stark Raving Entrepreneurs. I know they're in the chat as well, and that's how we found out about it. Is that they've just been such huge proponents of BigView, and because we're such huge fans of theirs, we're like, we got to check this out.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Exactly. It's the people that know BigView the best that really become our most trusted affiliates. And so I'll just repeat, because I see we have a question from Nicole. How do I become an affiliate of BigView? So just please notice we did put the FAQ in the chat here, and also just log into your BigView. You need to be a paying subscriber, but log into your affiliate profile, into your BigView profile, and you will see become an affiliate on the left. It's a really, really simple process, and we're in touch with you all along the way. And I really do feel that what we spoke about today in the workshop, creating that content flywheel, and it doesn't have to be, you guys spoke about really thinking of your content and being intentional about your content, but also in a way, this idea of repurposing content, it makes things a little bit easier, right? Like, you don't have to be everywhere all the time, right? You need to create good content and then see how you use it forward.
That's right. Put it out there, and you would be surprised at the comments that come in months later from somebody who's been impacted by it. So why not, create a system around it so that you can, then be social by going to these social media networks and responding to these people, as opposed to just being sort of a trumpet of content and then like not doing anything with it. So.
Yeah. And something else you guys spoke about was understanding what your audience is looking for. Like, how can this tool help you? So, people will create videos, how to use a teleprompter, right? How do I read it? How do I, what should I be looking at? How to add captions, what type of captions should I use? Those are really, really great examples of videos that you could be creating about BigView, as part of this program, and as basically giving your audience the value that they're looking for, and the reason they're coming to see you and to watch you, and the reason they trust you. So I think just like what you guys are, what you're doing in Amazon, do you think that could be, kind of replicated over to BigView?
Absolutely. I would ask, I would kind of like throw it back and say, of, prospective consumers or whatever, before they actually say, I'm going to subscribe to this, what are like the top questions that everybody asks about the software? And then whatever those are, and I'll let you think about those, but whatever those are, if you're someone who is already a Big View affiliate, and like, well, I'm going to create a video on that because that's going to answer somebody's problem. That's going to solve their issue before they make a purchase. And meanwhile, here's the affiliate link, and so you can get whatever the affiliate commission is for that. I think if you put yourself into someone else's shoes and say, what are their problems? That creates your content. That's what I tell all of my clients for podcasts is like, identify the person you're speaking to, just like Jim said, like who is it for? And then figure out what their problems are. That is your content. Solve their problems.
Right. Yeah, because nobody cares about us. I mean, that's what it really comes down to, right? What's the problem and what's the solution you offer? And your solution may not be the right solution for them, but you're at least giving them an option. What a lot of people don't think about as well is when it comes to creating videos that are, problem-solving type videos, people may not always like and comment, but they're watching. And at some point they may say, that Chris Stone guy really knows a lot about live streaming and podcasting. He's shown me his expertise. I want to work with him. And we've seen that happen, time and time again. So think about, how do I answer people's questions and help them succeed, right? That's why Chris and I are in this, is to help others succeed. It's not about us.
Perfect. All right. So, I mean, if you guys had to give, one tip to someone who's looking to become affiliate, who's looking to, dive into this world, where should they start?
To dive into the world of content, of creating content, or one tip, whatever is holding you back, get past it. Because, a long time ago, and probably 3 years ago, when Jim and I were first starting this whole thing out, we had a guy that we had on our show, and he was talking about this virtual presentation, right? And he said, and of course, pandemic and everything was happening, so it sort of hypercharged and turbocharged this whole thing. But he said your virtual presentation is the new suit. And so if you think about it like that, and I don't mean, when I say suit, I mean, not necessarily the tie or whatever, but like, this is how people will perceive you. And it could mean qualify or disqualify, which is fine. But if you don't have this together, if you don't have at least a clear way for you to be heard, which is the number one thing, is you got to make sure your audio is rock solid. That doesn't mean you need a $400 microphone. That just means you need to have a microphone that's close to your mouth, and that you're in a room that isn't big and noisy, and your voice isn't bouncing off of everything. So it's not a matter of expense. It's just a matter of being able to be heard well. And then in terms of being seen, you don't have to spend, the cost of your virtual presentation is less than an Xbox. You can use your phone. There's great software that you can use for your phone, but get it together. Every day Jim and I work with people who come in as guests on things like this. And you would believe how many nose hairs and ceilings fans that we see every day from people who don't have their acts together from a virtual presentation standpoint. So it's not something that is expensive, but it's something you need to really pay attention to. And that is, making sure that you can be heard first and foremost, and that you can be seen.
Yeah, and I would just add, I think Chris kind of hit on it, but we hear this term a lot in our industry. I guess you say it's called GAS, Gear Acquisition Syndrome, and people feel like, I've got to have the latest, Apple computer, and I've got to have the best camera in the world and all this stuff before I get started. But here's the flip side of that. If you were to go spend all that money and fail, you're going to feel even worse. So get started with what you have, right? And like Chris said, we always say the most important thing about video is audio.
Excellent. Great. So we're coming up to the hour mark. So I just want to thank our guests who've been fantastic today. Chris Stone from Dealcasters,
Thank you.
Jim Fuchs, Steelcasters, and Jim Fuchs, Jim Fuchs Marketing, and Donna Howitz from Big View, our marketing representative from Big View. I encourage everybody out there to check out Dealcasters. There's a lot of quality content on there. To reach out to Chris and Jim, to reach out to Donna for any information that you want to know about our affiliates program. You can contact our support channel as well, and they'll put you in touch with Donna. Thanks to our fantastic audience for being with us today. And we really appreciate you taking the time to join us. And we look forward to seeing you on future workshops. We have one lineup for next week. So with all that, just don't forget about the giveaway from Chris and Jim. It's 3 users will merit for that. And it's just to let you know, I'm not sure if it's the first 3, but I think Jim and Chris will see once they go through, and they'll choose 3 at random from the people that come in to make it an equitable chance for everybody to merit that. So please go ahead and send them at Dealcasters your Big View message. And thanks for joining us. Thanks, guys. It's really been an absolute pleasure.
It was an honor.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All
everyone.
the best. Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Teleprompter, create videos you're proud of. Easily trim your video by selecting the words where you want to start and end. Color your presentation with automatic subtitles and highlighting keywords. Add your brand logo. Add music for an emotional touch. Add your contact info on an animated business card on all your videos. Easily replace green screen with an image or a video loop. Stand out with a web page with your logo, your video at the center, and personalized button for visitors to interact. It's one tap to simultaneously upload your videos on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Always know what to say next with the Big View teleprompter.